Oh, interesting. Do see how this works. So this is the new live format that YouTube's rolling out. So it's supposed to be optimized for mobile streaming and so forth. So we will see how it goes. I tinker with thing, see how I like it. We shall see. First, I got to get this oriented in a way that I actually like, because I didn't like how it was looking before. Bit like that, maybe? Oh, I think that's tip prone. Try it again like this. I thought I had this camera set up in a way I liked before, but here we go. Hello. Now I got to see if there's a way to see the chat big. That's the main thing I need to see with this new format. Is there a way to see a really big, any way to get the chat looking big? Because that would be super helpful to me. But I don't know if that's a feature yet. Oh, there's a save highlight feature, which is pretty cool. I like that. But if I can't get a chat bigger, it's going to complicate things, because I tend to be back here. And in its current state, I'm not going to be able to read that chat. So I need a way to be able to like blow that text up huge, because this text is real tiny. Is there any way to expand that? Hello. Unfortunately, until I can find out a way to expand that chat, I'm going to be stuck walking up like this to try to read the chat every now and then. But hopefully I can keep up with things fairly well. Hmm. Pop, pop. I'm tinkering. There's a particular play from Meyer I've been brain shopping, I guess. Brain shopping? Is that the workshopping in my brain space? It is a play. Well, there that goes. Is a play against a descending attack. Ugh. I think I made this too high. Yeah, that's too tall. I need that shorter. So it's a play against a cut that's coming in, where you essentially just beat it away with a longish hit from below, and then you slash up into the face. And it's done from the right changer, so it's down here. I have to be close enough that that cut could actually hit me, I guess. And it's kind of like that, I think. Let me think. I'm not doing the feet though, I don't think. So let's see, right changer, come. So you take a step off to the side to get away from the cut. So that cut's coming in, we don't like it. We take a step off to the side, we cut up, and then back through like that as it comes away. I don't know if this stand's really the best thing for trying that out though. The whole like freeze framing the cut doesn't quite satisfy the need for it. Oh yeah, I have to step away. Forgot that part. So it's a step off to the side, and then a hit with a step back. But that's how it goes. Hello. The dog's name is Rosie. She is barking because there are other dogs barking, and she wants to go inside, and I think her mom's going to let her in, maybe? The last thing I saw was her mama is in the kitchen, which is right there. So I think she'll come. We'll see. Gotta tighten this up. There it is. Yeah, that's what we're looking for. Well, I'd rather not have to wander off from the stream, but I may need to. Hello. Any thoughts on why I stepped back and not continuing around to the side? Because he's disengaging. So Meyer puts a lot of emphasis on disengaging. So I shifted the stand here, but I can still talk through it, right? So what's happening is there's a blow. Let's pretend we're getting hit at. So there's a blow coming in. So you're moving off to the side to get away from the blow, beating up as you do so. So it's coming in. You're in the changer to here, basically. So then you're into this position, and then you've beaten their blade aside. They're wide open, so you cut and you withdraw in that step because you're not bound on this blade. So the fact that you've beaten away has created an opening for you to hit, but you haven't done anything about that. Like, you've made an opening, but you haven't detained the sword. So it's not safe for you to linger here. So if I linger in this space, that sword might come back for me. And I could try to defend against it, sure. But what he's doing here is he's creating the opening, getting the hit, and getting out. And it's as simple as that, I guess. It'd be cool to have a camera on the point of view of the guard. I can try it. Yeah, if I take this away, take away the mask. Problem is that you're just going to get a whole lot of that, right? And if I really butt up on it, then it's going to be in the danger zone for being hit. But if I can strain it, it kind of works. That's a bit wobbly. Kind of. See how good I am at controlling my blade. If I can avoid hitting the camera. Yeah, this is probably actually a bit low. Is it? Oh no, I guess it's not. Yeah. That's a video I need to make. I've been kind of on a blade grabbing kick of late, but there's one that's like really gutsy, which is where you're in the bind and you just grab it right then and there. So you just go bind, grab, and control. But see, now you can't see what I'm doing when I go off like that. And let's see. So the blade grab, right? We've arrived at the bind, grab like this, and then hit. Boom, boom, boom. Let's see. Yep, that works. Not unless you have a crush gaunt. They work if you have a crush gaunt, but I wouldn't do it without one. Boom. I love upsetting. It's such a satisfying way to like land a hit on, because you can just do that. You can turn away and be like, haha, I did it. I love it. And if you whiff it, do player. Do player and double it. It's funny that we have a technique that's called doubling, but then we talk about doubling as being both people get hit. But yeah, if you whiff it, hit. Or if they manage to really wind you up to the side, you can get it that way too. Lots of fun cuts to be done from inside the bind. Bam, bam, bam. I can't get this thing to go away. There we go, filters. There's gotta be a way to make the chat bigger, right? I can put you all in timeout, that's a thing I can do. More examples of grabbing your opponent's blade. Unfortunately, a lot of the cool ones are disarms, which I can't do against the stand that won't let me take the sword. Because, you know, there's ones that like come through here up into this position. So you're putting you've got your flat there, flat there, flat there, and you basically wrench it out of their hand, which is always really cool. Let's see, what are some I could do? I mean, there's the one I did the video over, which is like to come through like that. It would normally be higher though. And hit. Meyer shows this one. He says to grab the Picasso and then hit him, but it's generally done, you know, more up here. Grab, hit, boom, not so much down there. You know, down here you're looking at those Meyer grabs, or in those Fiore grabs like that. So bind, importantly, be in the bind first, then grab, because you want that control point with your sword first. So you don't just go like, haha, I got you. You go from here, because that gives you a little extra security, because you can feel if they start to pull away through your sword, which if you feel them starting to pull away, that's not the time to grab. What you're looking for is them kind of like giving you pressure, because if they're giving you pressure, they're not just going to go flying off. What they'll do is if you release pressure, they'll come this way. But as long as they're applying pressure, they're going to stay fairly stationary, which is your perfect opportunity to come in and create that grab and bar. So they're giving you pressure, grab, take it. And so you can make this happen into a thrust if you want. So pressure, grab, you know, basically creating control on that sword and winding it into a thrust. Or wrench it down and hit the face. Or Fiore also gives you instruction to grab and kick him in the knee. That's the one if you want to keep them alive. How do you approach beating an opponent with a blunt like a flail? Kind of the same way. They will probably not have as much reach as you, I suppose. So, and they will almost certainly not have as much hand protection. So I would say just trying to outrange them and get those hand shots, right? I managed to I had a completely stationary target, and I managed to land myself onto the cross. So all the places I could have thrown it, and I hit the cross. I think I was overthinking about the cross. You know, sometimes how like when you think about something, you'll like actualize it. So I was sitting there like, don't hit the cross, don't hit the cross. I hit the cross. Boom, that kind of stuff. I'm also trying not to chew up that handle. This is just a bike stand. Let's see. I wasn't right. There it is. Grip reversal. That one's really fun. I like doing this one. This one's just like really strong on the center line, so it's really hard to displace this. The problem that happens is that, of course, it's very, I mean, your hands are basically inverted like this. So it's kind of, it takes that like half second longer to get back out of it. And it can kind of, if you whip it or boff it in some way, and you have to get out of it very quickly, it can kind of get you in trouble. But it's really cool when it works. I don't like that one. A little shield action. Try to not hit my hands on the blade. It's a little weird doing it when there's like zero, like it has resistance, but it doesn't give you any pressure. So that part of it is a little weird. So certain things where I'm like banking on the fact that I'm going to have opposing pressure They don't translate quite right. Not my invention on the stand. That one's been, where did I first see it? I think, I don't know when these bike stands started to catch on. I don't know who to credit for the first one, the first person to think it was a good idea. I've known people using them for at least a couple years now, but yeah, I wish I knew whose idea it was first. Give them a shout out, you know. How common is it to find yourself grappling with your opponent in a longsword versus longsword fight? That's going to depend on the temperament. So depending on who you're matched up with and what your own temperaments are, it could be never, and it could be like every exchange. It depends on the person. The kind of people who will get into grappling all the time are the ones who will like sit there and they'll like run in like that. You can force a grapple pretty readily that way, but there are people who do it well and people who do it in a way that just gets them hit. Because if they start that charge from too far away, the person on the receiving end has like all the time that they're running at them to prepare for it, and it usually doesn't go so great for the person doing the rushing. You have to really kind of, if you want to like successfully rush somebody down, you got to catch them by surprise with it. Let's see. Hello. How common was it? Like the grappling. What is your favorite sword and least favorite sword? Least favorite, probably some kind of falchion. I don't like falchions, which is funny. I like messers. I don't like falchions. I don't know why. I don't like falchions. I guess falchion. I think it's like the blade's just too wide for me. I guess maybe I don't like really wide blades. I guess that's the thing. I just don't like really wide blades. I like skinny blades. Like my favorite messers are the ones that have skinny blades. I just like skinny blades. Let's see. Thank you, Olivia. How do I do slinging? Um, that's my favorite defensive move. Okay, here I'm gonna try to like mentally bank a lot of these comments so I can go back to like doing the things and then hopefully I'll remember them. Okay, so let's see. We had how would you switch from a large slash into a half sorting and then dodge? Oh boy, that's a long one. How would you switch from a large slash into half sorting and then dodging, parrying, blocking an armored opponent? I don't think there's really much I can like succinctly say on that last part, the parrying, blocking, etc. A dodging, like that's just kind of like asking for the sum total of every defensive action you can do anyways. I don't really know how to like fence. But as far as switching from a large slash into half sorting, that's a thing. So a lot of the transitions into half sword entail a sort of pulling motion like this. You're somewhere and you pop up to there. You're generally trying to catch the blade palm to flat. So it's any kind of action like that. So if I want to do like a big, I guess, yeah, I suppose if I wanted to do a big cut, if I wanted to cut big and then get into half sword, I'd probably go like something kind of like that. Yeah, let's just move that out of the way. Yeah, so if I wanted, yeah, I guess something kind of like that. What other cool slashes could I come up? I do. I don't like that one quite so. I feel like if I want to do a big cut, I think left up into half from there. Most of my other choices would basically be like half cuts, you know, cutting like that, or something kind of like that. But like big cuts, I can't think of many other ways I'd want to do it, other than to get myself up to here to make the transition. Slinging. So I'm currently working my way through Meyer. So I've done RDL for like 8 years, and then I've started in the past year. I've started trying to work my way into Meyer, so I'm still not entirely up on all of the subtypes. Let's see here, slinging. Let me see if I can refresh my memory on that one. Slinging. Withdrawal. Unless I'm misremembering that. There we go. Oh, it was translated as catapult in this book. Let's see. Let it cut. Therefore, position yourself. Guard the fool. Pull your sword back up to right side. In that moment, your sword pulls back. Step towards them with a right foot. Catapult your cut at their head. So it sounds to me like catapult is, or the slinging is basically just going from Alber into a Scheitelhau. Yeah, it sounds like it's basically a Scheitelhau with an extra step. So that is, let's see. So we start off in the guard of the fool, down below, pull the sword back through next to your right side. In that moment, when you pull your swords back, step towards them with your right foot. So are we starting? I wonder if we're probably starting left foot. Boom. Gonna fly straight like a stone. Yeah, that's gonna be my take. Let's move this out of the way. So we're starting in Alber. We're going, I'm gonna guess it's something like that, right? It's kind of like a flesh. I know the word, but I've never really heard someone actually say it. A fleche? It's probably a fleche. I think there's an accent on that word. Fleche. Yeah, so we're down in Alber. Oh, I whipped it. I was looking at the camera. That's gonna be my guess. Is it's whipping it, right? It's because he described it like whipping it like, I mean, the slinging. I think I like slinging more than catapult. If that's the translation. Because yeah, it's down, up, pow. With again looking at the camera. Yeah, that feels good. I like the like I can feel the slinging element to it of the like up, because you're pulling against the momentum, the upward momentum. Yeah, you get the pull up, and then there's the moment, the spring. You feel like you're loading yourself as a spring, and then pa. It feels really good. I do like halberds, yes. I very much enjoy halberds. The pata, I think it's interesting. It's not really not something I have much interest in like using myself or trying to find out, but I think it's neat. How old was I when I started fencing? 21 or 22? Something like that. Oh, that's my wife. Hi, my wife. Thank you, Linux man. Hello, wife. Hello, Star Squirrel. Oh, it's with one hand? Is it one hand? I did go to Oktoberfest. I didn't see any. Does he? Slinging with one hand? I don't remember any mention of. So does he bring up? Oh, does he bring it up in Lund? Is that where he brings up the one hand? Therefore, position your guard on the fool and pull your sword back through the next to your right side. In that moment, you pull your sword back, step toward them with your foot, and catapult your cut at their head. This catapult cut should then fly straight like a stone for the sling. Whenever it is necessary to find for the catapult, you'll find it's described in subsequent plays. I'm guessing the one-handed thing comes from the mentioned in one of the plays with it. Then, yeah. So I did go to Oktoberfest. What's easy feint? Let's see. I'm enjoying this Varen Academy, but yeah. So I guess I haven't gotten to that part. Again, I've only been studying Meyer for about a year, so a lot of his plays are not known to me. So I've been working my way through them. And I just wanted something more. I've been doing that, I've been doing RDL for almost a decade. And I'm just like, I want more. I want more out of it. So I decided to branch out into Meyer. And I found his work so rewarding so far. Like Meyer is something that was not like, when I started, Meyer was super intimidating and not something that I felt like I had any place trying to start with. And so, like, as a beginning fencer, I found the RDL stuff way easier to get into. I found just the approach of it all was, it's like really simple. It's like long plays give me like panic. I just have panic over long plays, and Meyer is just full of these long plays. But now that I am, where I am with almost a decade of this under my belt, reading Meyer's plays is way more intuitive for me than it used to be. It's still like really complicated because he's got like so many steps to some of these plays. But I've found him, and I really enjoy his fencing theory quite a lot. Okay, right. I've totally got sidetracked from easy feint. Oh. Oh boy, we have, okay, some more stuff. Okay. Let's see. So feints. Feints. Oh. I mean, there's the ever classic, just pull it around, right? So starting a cut to a side, get them to start to track out, roll it, hit to the other side. That one's like a classic. It's because you're just letting the momentum work with you. At no point do you have to decelerate the sword. You just keep it going. Because I think that's one of the tells that tends to happen with feints is if you pull. I think rolling with the feint can work better sometimes. You can pull the feint though. I can, but the start stop of it can be a little bothersome. I like the push pull if it's something from a bind. If you're getting a bind first, so if you're going like that, so Zukin pulling. If you're doing it from their sword, I like it a lot more. I don't like trying to do a pulling in the air to come back around. That is, I will mostly, when I do it, it's always from the blade. Because I think part of the reason why that works is there's not as much to reverse. Like I'm having to, instead of having to go like 1, 2, 3, it's 1, 2, 3 like that. So the fact that you're doing it from a state of more rest, right? I've come to here and I've stopped, and then I boom, boom. I think it works a lot better than trying to do it in the air. So that's why if I'm in the air and I want to feint, it's going to be a action kind of like that. Another good one is when you get them following with Zwerkaus. So maybe you've done something, you've come through, and you're starting to do this kind of game here, the old Zwerkopter, as it were. That's a good time for one, is like that. Which, again, I like more than it's the same sort of like full reversal, like trying to do the Zukin in the air. But what I like about the Zwer is it's so hip that you're like, to stop, like you can get hips into the Zukin, but I think the rocking nature lends itself better to that kind of feint. Plus, it's usually if you're already a few steps in, you've done something, and then you like start to come off and you come back around. Opportunities for the feints. Let's see here. Okay, game dev, short 2 on hammer attack techniques. My stuff is always good reference. How would I implement feints gameplay-wise? Ooh, feints gameplay-wise. So, thinking about feints from a fencing perspective, the feint is always going to be some sort of, so like with the German stuff, failure or fail, like failure is kind of your feint. It's just you are deliberately letting that attack fail and then go away. So that's kind of the essential element to starting the feint, is that there is some sort of initiated attack. So from a gameplay, what input would work best for you? But that's generally how feints get interpreted in games, right? You begin an attack, maybe like For Honor, for example. I do like a R2 heavy. I press circle, I feint it. The important thing to making feints feel good in video games, I think, is also including the way to counter them. So if you have feints with no way to like safely shut somebody out of it, to choose a defensive action that will protect you from what they're doing, feints are just utterly obnoxious. Because I know I guess, what is it? The first Chivalry had no real answer to like feinting. So you'd get people who would just run at each other and just be like, feint, 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 feint. Because at the very, or at the worst, they would hit trade with you. And then you both walk away hurt. So it's like, okay. And then at best, they get you to parry and then they hit you. But what you're seeing more in like Chivalry 2 and Mordhau is that they've included the idea that there are actions you can take where you can both defend and attack in the same action. And those will shut down that parry game, because you can just say, okay, fine. Like, I don't know if you're going to feint at me, but I do know I can close the line and hit you with. So like the proposition there is, if it's a genuine attack and I throw it, we're going to end up in a bind. Maybe I'll get a hit in, but at the like worst case scenario for me, we just end up in a bind, and now we're neutraled and we have to do something. And then if you feint it, so I'm doing my defensive action, you pull back to feint, hit, boom. That's the proposition. So if you're going to include feints, I think the more important thing to keep in mind about feints is how to also counter the feint. And you need to have one and the other kind of conjoined as a system. Now, what that would look like for you, I'm not sure. That could be something like a low damage. This is something I've been tinkering around in my own head. It's something like a low damage, kind of like attack from guard. Thinking about Dark Souls, how with thrusting weapons you can be blocking and attacking, but it's not a particularly strong option, but it allows you to attack into other attacks. So while it's not a super rewarding thing, it is a safe thing. So that's kind of my thought, is like, if you're in some sort of guarding stance and then you just have some sort of attack, like if you do an attack input while guarding, your character will like do some sort of covered attack. I think could be a good way to implement a anti-feint thing. And it's not going to be super strong necessarily, but it's a way to like chase them out of feinting from you. I think that might be interesting. Okay, let's see here. A spear, a glaive would be a great zombie weapon. Convince the Polis would be even better. If I could choose 2 weapons, what would I choose? So assuming melee weapons, I'm going to say, if I choose 2 weapons, then I'd take like, again, I'd take the like fairly short poleaxe, and then maybe like a machete. Just machetes are useful. Like they're just good. You know, in the survival context of trying to be conscious of how much weight you're carrying, I would prefer anything that can be used for more than one purpose. So yeah, some sort of machete would probably be the second choice. Something that you can use closer than the poleaxe comfortably. Something that's really handy in one hand might be very helpful. And then of course you can use it for getting through foliage or chopping down stuff. It's a super versatile tool. I actually have a machete over there, so I use it all the time in the yard. That's actually how I prepped, sort of prepped. I have a bunch of sticks over there. I was hacking them apart with my machete. So that's actually how I got them into a reasonable size. Do I know any weaponless martial art? I used to do Taekwondo, but that was not a big focus for me. I did it for like a few years. I don't remember how long. But the whole thing with me doing Taekwondo was I just really wanted to use the bow staff. So even when I was doing the unarmed stuff, all I wanted to do was the armed stuff. Oh, you'd like to hear about what I like about Meyer's fencing theory? Okay, I can ramble about that in a minute. Which helmets offer the most protection while still being able to make out with a fellow knight? Sallets. I'm gonna say sallets. Because with sallet, you can have all that protection up top, but if you don't wear it with a bever, you can just have your mouth open. So like there you go. You've got mouth-to-mouth access while being covered like literally everywhere else. I can't think of any other helmets that offer that proposition. Maybe like a nasal helm. Yeah, I guess, or a what's the word I'm looking for? Not nasal. Yes, nasal would also work, but spectacled helm with like you see associated with the Vikings, Glasgow stuff is the little disc thing with the eye holes, or mouth, sometimes cheek pieces, so forth. Can I stab from a Zvekow? Yeah, you can. Sure, why not? Zvekow, where does Zvekow end? Zvekow, a little quick lesson about guards, right? Start, stop. Everything's a start, stop point. All the guards are positional points, or nodes, rather. Nodes. So whatever Zverhow I do will put me, the end of a Zverhow is itself ox. And from ox, you can thrust. So yeah, it's as simple as that. Boom. Zverhow, thrust. The most likely time you're going to see that is if you like misjudged your distance a little bit, or they started to pull away while you were doing your Zverhow, and you ended up too far out. And so rather than being able to hit them, you chase the point in and get the hit. Okay. What's my favorite fruit? Watermelon's a fruit, right? Yeah. I'm having this like moment, this is like existential crisis. I'm like, yeah, 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 I think, yeah. Uh, do you think drinking syrup out of the frog mouth would be a viable tactic? Which direction? Is the syrup going in, or is the syrup coming out? Is the frog mouth a fancy syrup container, or is it a consuming thing? Hi, Anya. I am in the legal career. I'm not a lawyer. I work with lawyers. I haven't forgotten about this fencing theory question, by the way. I'm just trying to catch up, because that one's going to have me rambling for a while, and I want to make sure I'm caught up on chat before I start to ramble. How expensive is some basic protection for fencing with some blunt swords you bought? I would caution. I don't know where you got the blunt swords from. So like there are good blunt swords and there are very dangerous blunt swords. So I would advise caution on that front. I don't know where you got them from, but as much as people don't quite like them, soup fencing, soup fen. I think it's just soup fen has a starter kit that's not terrible. Are any fighting styles for night patrol who had torches? Oh my gosh, yes, there actually are. I suppose you could drink syrup out of a frog mouth. I would question the sanitation of it, but yeah, I suppose that would work. Maybe. No, I mean you would end up with a pool though. Like the visor's in a weird place. So depending on which way you're looking at it, you either, because presumably you'd be holding it neck up, so you'd end up with like a basin in the skull You just have a bunch of syrup pooling that won't like flow out well. And then you have all the, or you fill it only up to that point and you have all the wasted space above it. So I don't know about that. Okay. Meyer's fencing theory stuff. Oh boy, where to start with it? I'm just going to go with the first thing that pops into my head. Provoker, hitter, taker. So this is one of the things to think about. One of his like fencing meta things is every action can be boiled down into being a provoker, a hitter, or a taker, and sometimes a mix of the three. So a provoker is something that provokes. It is an action that gets my opponent to leave wherever they are. So if they're up in like a Vomtog, and I go whoosh, that'll probably provoke them into doing something. Very often, it'll provoke them down to parry against it or to bind against me, because they don't want that point in their face without them having something ready to do about it. So that's one kind of provoker. Another provoker could be something that not just provokes them into a defensive action, but provokes them into an offensive action. So say I'm up here and I go whoosh down to here, and I kind of like do that little bit of a lean in. I do a big full swing. I end up here. This is also very tempting. This is very, very tempting. So there's a good chance that they will want to do something about the fact that I am now wide open, which is when I can do that kind of thing. And so just to give a set play here of doing all three, I provoke, they attack, I take their blow. So the taker is whatever you've done to remove the threat, or to basically take their sword away in some capacity. It could be I didn't want to actually beat it away. It could be something just like winding against it. If maybe I just like I've taken it, not necessarily knocking it all the way away, but just getting control of their sword in some fashion is your taker. So I've provoked, I have taken, I have hit. Provoke, take, hit. Hit, take, provoke, whatever. Provoke, a hitter, taker. Provoke, take, hit. Now, I said they could also be a mix of the three. So I could provoke and take, well, I guess you could provoke and take in the same one. That'd be kind of a particular action. I'm trying to think of how you would do that. Provoke and take at once. Would it be still defined as both? I'm trying to think, like, would just upsetting, would that? Yeah, I'm trying to think about that. Like, at what point would that action be broken up? But not that's just me thinking. But the essence here is that I can take and hit with one action if I want, right? So if they're cutting at me, I can take. I'm looking at the screen. I can take and hit as one action. They don't have to be separate actions. They can be the same. So that's one part. Hello, Jimothy. What else? So, okay, so provoker, hitter, taker. That's a framework that he uses for everything. He also breaks fencers down into 4 broad categories. The first type will just attack at the first opportunity. They're not necessarily worried about being hit or anything. They are your reckless fighters who will just be like, boom, and they just fly in with no regard. The next type will be more judicious. They will still be very like aggressive, but they will not just attack they won't just abruptly attack. They will sit there and they will attack when they think they can get a hit. The third type will only attack if they think they can get a hit and get out with it. So Meyer puts himself into this category. Someone who sits there, or doesn't necessarily sit there. right? That's going to be the next type of fighter, is someone who works their way in, but only commits when they feel like they have the opportunity. Presumably they have taken. So I guess, let's say, you know, I've got my opponent here, whatever. The first type of fencer will just go, and they'll hit. The second type of fencer would go like, boom, and then they'd hit, because they know they can get it, but they didn't necessarily consider the fact that that point might have tracked at them. The judicious fencer would, you know, do something and take it like that, where they have secured the blade and then land the hit, and done so in a way that like they didn't take the opportunity until they knew they were safe to take it. Now, that's not to say the previous action was necessarily unsafe per se. It's just more about making the right choice for the against the right person. And the last kind of fighter is the passive one, who will just sit there and wait, and they wait, and they wait, and they wait, and then they attack. And Meyer says that these people are either very skilled or very foolish, because to sit there and let your opponent dictate the terms of the fight is giving them a lot of leeway to do bad things to you. Provoker here, does he have any advice on using that framework for a retreat or a clinch for safety? So he will often include takers for withdrawal. So his very first play, because I've been working that first play a lot, his very first play from Vomtag is that it is a play against an Oberhau. So he says, you've come up into a Vomtag somehow, and you've been cut at from above. He says to basically do a Shielhau to strike their head. So that's a provoker and a hitter, or not a, sorry. The way the play starts is potentially with a provoker. So I might be like here, and I might have come up, and that might have been the provocation to entice them to attack me. Them trying to basically attack me between my motions to catch me before I'm ready. So that might have been the provocation. But now that I'm in Vomtag and they have done a hitter at me, I am now going to use a hitter taker, that Shielhau, to take and hit to the head. Then he says to roll off and cut for their hands. If they parry that, you're going to do a provoker or a hitter. This is not going to be 2 in 1 though. This is, you're provoking first and foremost. You're trying to get them to open up. If they just don't react in time, then you hit them. But if they do react in time, it is not a hitter. It's only a provoker, and you roll off and you hit them. So hit the head. So that's our next hitter. From here, he wants you to start to withdraw. So he says to then Zver around and withdraw. So that last Zver is a taker to get you out alive. Now, I haven't dug into his grappling stuff too much. He does say that you need to pick the right moment for grappling. Otherwise, it will not go well for you, which is kind of my experience too. People who rush into grappling with no plan, like I was talking about earlier, it tends to go badly for them. So you need to be very, very particular about when you rush to grapple if you want it to work out for you. Yes, this is alive. Try that first strike that you do with the outside flat overbind on his blade. Well, what about doing it? Hello, doggy. Hi, doggy. Rosie. Yeah. Oh, also he says to step well out with that one. So you're going well out to the side with it. So you're, so for people in the audience, that is the flat of your strong into their blade, and then you're coming up and over. The angles are weird here because of the stand, but that's the basic idea, right? Is getting that outside step parry with the flat there, whack on the head with the false edge or short edge, half edge, whatever you want. Yes, yeah. Yeah, I'm convinced. So he doesn't say it's a Shielhow in the play itself, but I don't see how it's not a Shielhow, and I don't think I'm not saying like it's a great conspiracy or whatever. I think he's ultimately describing a cut that's more or less the same thing as a Shielhow. He's just not calling it by name in that one. I guess because he's trying to really convey the mechanic of it in that moment. Because he's very particular about describing it. It's like flat, flat, coming over, hitting. I find it's a really fun one to pull off. Does the dog also have a sword? No, not yet. Maybe at some point we'll get her one. Is it bad to swing and hit air if you are blocking at the same time? I don't follow. Could you rephrase that? Is it bad to swing and hit air if you're blocking at the same time? Like you whiff? Like I try to like do a beat or something and I whiff the beat. And I end up exposed or something. More Meyer fencing theory. This is one that I've been trying to internalize myself, which is I find really hard to internalize, or at least to actualize, I guess, is this idea that you don't want to linger in guards. He's very particular about keeping your guards shifting, because the longer you sit in the guard, the more time you give your opponent to concoct plans against it, and the more likely they are to accurately assess what your plan is. Because if I sit here like this for a long time, I'm sitting here like I want to do it. I want to do it. Then my opponent's going to know I am probably super eager to get a thrust. That's probably what it looks like. I'm like, I want to do it. I want to stab. And the longer you sit there, the longer they have to figure out what your plan is and then counter plan. So he wants you to stay transitory. He wants you to boom and work your way in, and generally not sit anywhere for too long. But that's also not to say that you want to be shifting senselessly either. So this is the careful balancing act. Because if you're just changing for no good reason, that's every time you switch, there's an opportunity for them to make a move against you, because you're not basically anytime you're between guards is a moment where you're vulnerable. You know, if I'm up here, the act of me switching to here is a moment of vulnerability that could be capitalized on. So you have to be careful about it, and also when you at what distance you make those guard transitions. So from my reading of it, it feels like those transitions, you use them to mask your final intention on the approach. So two scenarios. What does it look like I'm going to do? Okay. Right? Like if I approach the fight from all the way, they're like, fight, start. I go, I'm sitting here doing this thing. It's obvious what I'm going to do. So that's what he's trying to avoid. He doesn't want you to do that. Instead, let's say that's the same end result I want, right? But that's not, I don't want to approach that way because I want to mask that. So I still want to get to here and then hit. Okay, so that's going to be the same thing. So what he would rather have you do is sit there and then boom, you're in. Right? So switching, boom, and then you're in. Picking your moment very precisely to switch. So that's one I've been trying to internalize, or internalize and then actualize. And I've been having mixed success actualizing it. When I do it well, I see the value of it. It's just really hard to stay switching like that while also keeping mindful of what they're doing. Because you have to be ready potentially to be interrupted at any point of your transitions. So that's part of the mindfulness of making that switching. You're not just sitting here just like, woohoo, what am I going to do? I don't know. I'm switching to switch for no other reason. Now you need to be a little more mindful about those transitions and always being ready for what you think might happen while also obscuring your true intention. It's a lot to juggle. Getting back out safely is one of the hardest things for me to pull off. So if you're in the US, I would highly recommend going to Purple Heart Armory. That has lots of good stuff. Hard landing a hit and getting back out safely is one of the hardest things for you to pull off. I'm trying to think of how to. So we could take the sort of the Bolognese advice of to the sword, to them, to the sword. So always thinking to the sword. That's probably the number one thing to say about staying safe. Is because what's probably happening is if you are having trouble getting out safely, you're probably being a type 2 fencer in Meyer's system. The type 2 being you're being cautious on the approach, right? You're not a type 1 fencer. You're not just I'm going to hit you. You are sitting there and you're being careful about picking your moment. But the thing that's happening is you're picking the first opening you see, not the first safe window, I guess. Because that's what's going to be happening if you're not getting out safely. It's because you picked a opportunity, you've recognized an opportunity to hit them, and you know that you can make that land. And so, yeah, you made that hit. But did you also consider how to deal with that sword on the exit plan? Did you take an opening and think, hey, I can parry that? Or did you do something to achieve more control over their blade first, or hit and do something to save yourself? So that would be the main thing I would think about, is maybe take a chance to work some like reduced speed stuff, and like do some like freeform sparring, but reduce the speed of it down, and think and keep that cooking in your brain of like using the fact that you're moving slower now to think about the fact that, hey, how can I maybe ideally get contact first, or otherwise bait them out into an opening and then again back to the sword. So not necessarily making contact on their blade first every time. You could do your provoker and do something that gets them to move this way, and then you can get that hitter, but then don't forget the taker. Another thing, good addition from Ronnie. Foot placement. I don't know if this is exactly what they were meaning by that, but another thing that will keep you safer is moving this offline, moving to the sides. That will keep you safer, because if you are, because it can be a two-pronged thing here. One, if you are hitting but you haven't done a taker, then you are in the danger zone of being, you might get the hit, they might afterblow you. That's not ideal. Hit, afterblow, because you chased an opening without taking their blade in some way. To make this moment safer is to go offline so that they have a greater distance to travel to get back to you. So if you can combine the two of those, so back to the very first thing I was doing was Meyer's play against basically any overhouse is he's in the right changer or the left changer, and then he takes a offline step out to the side and strikes with a taker up to their blade. So we do offline step, take. Then he does a hitter, and he hits, and he withdraws out of distance. And he never, at no point in this does he tell you to track back in towards them. It's out and back away. So you've gone 1, 2, or out to the side. I may be getting the orc slightly wrong, but the essence is right. It's out to the side, out and get away, creating that distance against them. How hard is it to parry a mace? How hard is it to parry with a mace? So that's the funny. I don't actually know for sure because I've never. The thing about maces is that in order for them to have an accurate weight to them, they become weapons. They are weapons by merit of their weight. A sword, if you take away its cutting edge, yeah, they'll hurt people, but you can kind of you can really take the pain out of a sword by taking away its blade. Maces, you take away the flanges of a mace, it's still a mace. It'll still hit you like a truck. So that's one of the things. I've never actually had to parry a mace, so I can only really speculate about what I understand about them. And I would say, from my understanding of them, is your best bet is to use beats against it. I think trying to, generally you don't want to statically parry anything. There's not a whole lot of desire to do that. But with a mace, you really don't want to. So I generally think about trying to send it along its way. Whatever direction it's moving, is beat it to keep it going that way. Don't try to cut against, don't countercut, because you're fighting your sword against the full mass of their mace. So if you're going if you're clashing, this mace is coming this way and your sword's going this way, and you go bam, clash, that might not go so great for you. So instead of trying to intercept, I would instead try to redirect off to the side. That'd be my impression on how to deal with the heft of a mace. Also, their hand is probably kind of, they don't have a cross guard, so you might be able to get the hand hits on them too. And they probably will have less range than you. So ideally, I wouldn't even, under ideal circumstances, I wouldn't even let them get the swing in. If you've got ample more reach than them, just try to cut them, right? Or thrust them or whatever. Just try to do something before they can get to you. And then you don't even have to worry about parrying them. Okay, I lost. There was someone asking about something. I wanted clarification. Let's see here. Okay, is it bad to swing and hit the air if you're blocking at the same time, like keeping the blade in front of you, like defending? Right guard, but also offense towards the enemy. Right chop, maybe low, slip. I'm trying to wrap my head around that. So I'm gonna go with that first part of is it. So I think your first question was like, is it bad to just go like this? Is that what you mean? Is it bad to go, haha? Because I would say no. I wouldn't say so. I do it all the time. It's a way to get to the center, right? So if I'm going to cut, maybe I decided I don't want to actually cut at them. Maybe I'm like, I need to just take this position. Or maybe they're in some sort of spot where I'm like, I think I can do that. That might work. You know, that's a time for it. It's a way to kind of like abort your cut into a way that still scares them. Oh, have a good day or night at work, whatever the time is for you. I'm losing my light and I've hit the hour mark. So I'm probably gonna wrap things up here pretty soon because it's getting really dark out here. I don't know how much more. I got my rapier. I want to play with my rapier before I lose all my light. I'm gonna switch to my rapier now. Officially on my rapier. I have a 1996 Toyota Camry. That's amusing. I like that name. What's my favorite guard positions in terms of effectiveness and style? Oh, darn it. I should have stayed with the longsword. Okay, I'm going back to longsword for a little bit because that's where all my favorite guards are. So let's see, guards. I'm a big fan of Changer, Vexel. So it's I don't know if this would count as Vexel. Would this count as Vexel? I don't know. This yes, this yes. This maybe. This is one that always like makes me go like, what is it? Is it Alber? Is it Vexel? Is it Nebenhut? I don't know. It's like it sits there just kind of like between everything. I don't know. I don't know what to call it. Vexel, Oliver. So like if you think about the fact that it's just like an Oliver, but they're like turned, it's still very Albery, but it's also like Vexel, but it doesn't have the edge there. And it's like Nebenhut, but it's not really at the side, but it is kind of at the side. That's one that I've never been happy with a name for that one, but I really like it. If anybody remembers my Dark Souls 2 video about how I was very sad about that guard disappearing, it wasn't just like, it was very personal for me that guard went away. It was very, very personal to me that Dark Souls 2 had this position and then they went back to this, and it made me very upset. I really like that position. Let's see. I would then say, so yeah, this one's like if you watch my sparring videos, I'm here all the time. I love this spot. This is like my go-to hangout spot where if I don't have a particular plan in mind, I'm usually just kind of here. Like if I'm sitting there trying to just observe them, I'm usually down here to do it. Because I like this spot because I can come up quickly to get a beat. I can also kind of make it into a cut. I can fling the tip out. I like a lot of options from there. So I probably use it more than I should. I definitely use it more than I should if we go by Meyer's metric. I'm sitting there way too long if we're talking about Meyer. So probably not. From an aesthetic standpoint, I love the high Vontag. I love this. I think this is just like the coolest posture. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And it's useful. It has uses. It's a good way to scare people. This is like for all of our evolution and everything, we are still monkeys at heart. And seeing something do a big old threat display and making itself look very big is scary. I don't, you might not think it, but like when somebody's staring you down and they suddenly do this, that's intimidating. This is not something that you like seeing. It's the go away bear. It's the scary, right? But now it's with a sword. So it's all that like primal posturing, and it's armed to the teeth. It is terrifying to be on the receiving end of this. And you know how much power it can have. So it's horrifying. I love it. It's so cool. But it's definitely not a place to hang out. It becomes very exposed very quickly. It's a great posture, but this one is very much in the camp of don't linger, do not stay here. This is a boom. I'm here. I'm scaring you. I wait for like half a second, and then I'm on to something else. It is you don't just sit there. You don't necessarily want to just sit there and be like la di da di da 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 da. This is a good way to get stabbed, by the way. They will throw a point into your face, and you'll go ah, and you'll try to like parry it, but then you're dead. Your hands are just on top of the sword. It's not a good time. Not a place to stay for very long. It's the shouldered Vontog. Man, it's really dark. I don't know if I have much longer. Shouldered Vontog has a lot of the same like options for it. It's really good at boom. Shoulder Vontog is great for defense. It is a wonderful defensive posture because it has such a strong and quick defense from there that you can just clear things away. Easy peasy. It's very good for that. But I'm going to drop that topic because it's getting so dark. Anyways, yeah, I think it's, I don't know about you all. On my end, it looks too dark to actually like see anything of value anymore, but I can keep it going for a little bit more if you all think otherwise. But if, from what I'm seeing, it's very dark. Bonk. Ooh. I'm exploring the one-handed beats. So Maraza makes a lot of doing it with the back of the blade. But Meyer, if I apply Meyer's thing, I don't know. All right, yeah, I'm gonna just, okay. What about side to side swing will scare them? I don't think, against the more experienced fencer, I don't think that's gonna work. That's another very primal motion, right? The side to side, just like, stay away from me. Against another fencer, I don't think it's going to get you very far. They're just going to counter time it. Now, it's a little different if they have a montante and you don't, because then that gets scary. Like, if they have a like equivalent range to you, then no, it's not scary. If you have more range than them, it starts to get scary, because like this side to side is sort of a core element of montante plays, but doing that side to side, it's with a range advantage, because the whole thing there is you're giving them a tempo with the side to side, 1 2 1 2, and every boom right here is a moment to hit me, hit no, hit safe, hit safe, hit safe. See what I mean? So when once I'm in another position and I'm ready to come back, I'm safe again. So I'm safe right now. I'm not safe. I'm safe. I'm not safe. I'm safe. Not safe. Safe. And so against somebody with the same size sword who has the same range as you, those not safe moments are very, very dangerous. But when you have a big montante and they have a smaller sword, suddenly distance is time. So they now have to get close enough to you to hit you before you get to back to your safe spot, which is why the side to side works with the montante, because you have distance to protect you in the moments of vulnerability. But with that, I'm going to wrap things up because, again, way too dark. I don't even know if anybody could even see that, but hopefully the talking helped. Anyways, thank you for joining me. This is my first stream using the new format. I am going to look into the thing about making the chat bigger so I can stop having to like face hug the phone to try to see what's going on. And hopefully you all enjoyed yourselves. Have a good night. Oh, except, again, I need to actually figure out how to end the stream. Okay, we're ending it now.